Hi, I'm Robert Moody, Music Director for the Portland Symphony Orchestra. Welcome to our online insights. This one we're talking about a salute to the 3 Bs concert we're having in March. Now the 3 Bs probably make you think of the original 3 Bs, Bach, Brahms, and Beethoven. In this case, we're having a bit of fun with that title and looking at a different set of 3 Bs, Brahms, Britten, and the Beatles. I'm so excited about this concert, and we get to celebrate music from really very different styles, but there's a wonderful way that all of this music comes together. Johannes Brahms is on the concert. He is one of the original 3 Bs, and we're playing the great Brahms variations on a theme of Haydn. Of course, another incredibly well-known composer. Haydn wrote a wonderful theme, and then Brahms took this theme, and first he plays it almost as Haydn would have, and then gives us this phenomenal set of variations in which he takes this theme in many different directions with one of the most powerful endings one can imagine for orchestra. That's how the concert opens. We're ending with music by Benjamin Britten, his Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra. Benjamin Britten wrote this to become a guide for someone learning about the orchestra, but it turns out the music is so powerful that it stands completely on its own, not necessarily as just an educational tool. We actually have 2 works of Benjamin Britten on the program. The other work by Britten is the Britten Nocturnes. I was introduced to this piece by tenor John McVeigh. Now, John and I go way back. He's a great friend from my days at the Eastman School of Music. He is one of the world's greatest tenors. He sings all over the world. He performs regularly at the Metropolitan Opera, Houston Grand Opera, the great opera houses of Europe. But when he's not traveling and performing, he lives right here in Portland. So he's also a Portlander as well.
I did bring the Nocturne to Robert. We've worked many times together at different festivals, different orchestras. We've worked at Arizona Music Festival together, where we did a couple of programs. And I brought it to him and said, "This is a piece that I really would love to do." And he was thrilled. He heard it and said, "Oh, absolutely." The first time I discovered the Nocturne, it was in college, and it was really just a brief acquaintance with it. And I heard it in the listening library, and I was listening to a bunch of other Britten and Peter Pears, and really loved it, but I didn't know much about it. I didn't study the music, and this was some odd years ago. And put it to rest. Didn't really give it much thought, and I received a phone call a couple of years ago, a pretty frantic phone call from Music of the Baroque out in Chicago, saying, "We've lost our tenor. He's fallen ill. Do you know the Nocturne?" And my immediate answer was, "Well, yeah, of course I know the Nocturne." Well, I had heard it once, but that was about it. And I thought, yeah, no problem, I can do it. And it was literally last-minute notice. I had to fly the next day to start rehearsals. And I had the score overnighted to me and received it the day I was leaving. And I looked at it, and I was terrified. I mean, it's 22-ish minutes long, and it's difficult. It's really difficult. So it was a crash course. I mean, I've done a lot of Britten before, in tons of Billy Budds and Midsummer Night's Dream and Paul Bunyan, so I'm familiar with his musical vocabulary. But I wasn't quite ready for this, and it was an exciting and scary experience, thrilling.
So we've talked about 2 of the 3 Bs, Johannes Brahms and Benjamin Britten. Who is the 3rd B? Well, I think you're going to love how this 3rd B comes into place and becomes part of this concert. The 3rd B in this case is the Beatles, one of the most important rock groups of all time, and I say one of the most important music groups, period, of all time. They wrote such stellar tunes during the decade that they were together. Peter Schickli, the composer most well known as P.D.Q. Bach, writes serious music as the composer Peter Schickli from time to time. He is as great of a fan of the Beatles as anyone I know, and a few years back he wrote a piece called Beatles Set for small orchestra, vocal soloist, and it's a setting of 6 Beatles tunes in this really wonderful, revelatory manner. Quite different from the way you originally heard these tunes on your 45, if that's the first way you heard the Beatles tunes, but wonderful nonetheless. John McVeigh will be the tenor, as he is for the Britten Nocturnes. Great music of the Beatles, rounding out our 3 Bs. Brahms, Britten, the Beatles, and please be there. We'll see you at Merrill Hall.